And breaking news right now, Russia says that it has arrested a Wall Street Journal reporter and is accusing him of spying for the U.S. Evan Gershkovich is an American journalist based in Moscow. He has worked there for the Wall Street Journal since January of last year. Well, the Wall Street Journal says it is deeply concerned now for his safety. And I do want to bring in Paul Rieckhoff now, national security and political analyst, a military veteran as well, and president of Righteous Media. Paul, it's good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Great to be with you, Natasha.
What is your initial reaction to this detainment of this American journalist?
He needs to be released. I think all Americans should be outraged, and the global community should understand this is an American citizen who's being held by Putin. He's a civilian, he's a journalist, and I think it's another example of how Vladimir Putin will use any option or any chip that he can to try to influence the U.S. and the West in support of his global agenda. We've seen this with high-profile captives in the past, like Brittany Grenier and others. And it's clear that Putin's going to use this reporter as a chip to try to create leverage around Ukraine and around the world. And I'm sure the president will condemn it if he hasn't already. And we're going to demand the release of this journalist ASAP.
Interesting. And we're getting some information both from Russia's Federal Secret Service, also a statement from the Wall Street Journal. So the FSB issued a statement, and it reads, quote, that it was established that Gershkovich, acting at the request of the American side, collected information constituting a state secret about the activities of an enterprise of the Russian military-industrial complex. And they add that he was detained while attempting to obtain classified information. And then meanwhile, the Wall Street Journal issuing a statement just now as well, saying that it, quote, vehemently denies the allegations from the FSB and seeks the immediate release of our trusted and dedicated reporter. We stand in solidarity with Evan and his family. How do you think the U.S. should respond at this point?
Strongly. And they should condemn this. They should call that statement from Russia for what it is. It's propaganda. The Russian government can't be believed. Putin can't be believed. This is the same government and leadership that's conducting genocide in Ukraine, killing civilians, and violating basically every war crimes act known to man. So Russia can't be trusted. And we can't take that statement for anything other than propaganda. We should support the Wall Street Journal and any American who's being held by Putin, Russia, or any of their allies. So I hope they can demand that release quickly without any kind of conditions. We shouldn't have to release anything in response to that. This is an American citizen, a civilian, and a journalist, and he should be released immediately without any conditions.
What message do you think that Putin walked away with from the Brittany Griner situation and the prisoner swap that took place that included the return of Victor Bout?
Well, I hope that he walked away with an understanding, and the world walked away with an understanding that Americans won't leave other Americans behind. I know we could talk about whether or not America gave up too much or too little, but the bottom line is America has to draw a line and say that we will not tolerate, we will not allow American citizens to be taken hostage by Putin or anyone else. And I think that's a strong message to send to folks like Brittany Grenier and also, American military veterans who've been held by Putin and others. Americans need to always know that America will come for them. America will not leave them behind, and America will do all we can to bring them back. And I think this is just the latest example of how Putin's going to play these games with America, with the West, and with the world. And we've got to stay strong. We've got to continue to support Ukraine and NATO and maintain America's national security interests, because folks like China are also watching, and we can't fold to Putin's dictatorial demands.
What should the U.S. do differently that compared with what it did do during the whole Brittany Griner conversation, negotiation, and the ultimate release of Victor Bout? Or do you expect that it will play out largely the same way? We will make a major concession and send back a prisoner or a person that they want home?
I don't know. In situations like this, there's so much that we don't know. I know that if that was my brother or my spouse, I'd want him home immediately. And we should look to the families for their guidance and try to support them in any way that we can, and also trust that there are national security experts at the Pentagon, at the State Department, at the White House who are doing all they can to bring that American back home and not give up any more than we have to. But we can't be humbled by dictators like Putin. He is a criminal the likes of which we've never seen. He's going to play every game and do every trick and tell every lie that he can to try to manipulate us and try to divide Americans. And I think most of all, with regard to any national security issue, we got to try to stay united as Americans. Republicans, Democrats are so often divided in Congress. We can't let Putin exploit those divisions, manipulate those divisions, and compound them, because that's what he wants. He wants Americans divided. He wants us squabbling on cable news, TV, and divided all across America. We can't let him have that.
Yeah. And I do want to turn to some breaking news that we've been tracking overnight. Those 2 Army Black Hawk helicopters that crashed in Kentucky last night, and 9 soldiers lost their lives. Can you tell us a little bit about the details that you're tracking from that this morning, as well as anything more about the HH-60 Black Hawk helicopters that were involved in this crash?
Yeah, the Black Hawk is the workhorse of the American Army. I've spent a lot of time in them and around them. They're a part of everybody's training for the most part. And I think what it should underscore is that being in the American military is dangerous. Whether you're on the front lines in a place like Syria, where there were combat operations this week and American troops were wounded, or if you're training back home in Fort Campbell in Kentucky, being in the American military is dangerous. Training is extremely dangerous. These 9 families are going through the unimaginable call and knock at the door right now. And maybe, again, it's another opportunity for Americans to unite in support of a group of people who are on the front lines for us overseas and here at home. There are a number of important charities that step up in moments like this. I'd encourage folks to check out TAPS, the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. They support survivors and widowers and widowers and kids. And I'm sure they're on the ground right now, and they're going to need all the support they can get.
Absolutely. All right. We certainly appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Natasha.